No Girl Wins: 3 Ways Women Unlearn Their Love of Video Games, written by Juliet Kahn and published on Boing Boing. This article sees the author speaking to a little sister and learning that she is nothing more than a sponge, shaped by and incapable of seeing past TV advertising and social cliques. Her little sister feels that gaming is just something for boys, rather than simply concluding that her sister is a moron, failed both by her parents and her big sister. The author explains the 3 main reasons it's the world's fault. The first force is disqualification. It takes into account the fact that girls almost certainly have played video games, but then carefully categorizes the games they're most likely to play as illegitimate. It's not hard to find this attitude wherever games are discussed. A mystery thriller like Her Story, a narrative exploration game like Gone Home, best-selling titles like Animal Crossing and The Sims, all manner of virtual pet sites. Not real games, walking simulators, boring, easy. Dealing with women's emotions, not having guns, or simply being enjoyed by women en masse. All of these qualities act as disqualifiers. It's not just that women supposedly aren't interested in games, it's that the mere presence of femininity defines the games they like out of existence. Just like how everyone says that Bayonetta isn't a real game, because of the femininity. The author seems to argue that people say these things aren't real games because of what they have, rather than what they are lacking. The reason you get lots of people saying, Gone Home isn't a real game, it's a walking simulator, isn't because it has women's emotions. You can have exactly the same audio logs, exactly the same house, exactly the same only 90s kids will get this nostalgia bullshit everywhere. Add in more of a mechanical side to it, an actual, game bit, rather than a system that exists as a 3D convoluted audiobook interface, and people wouldn't be saying that. Additionally, there are women who say the same things about these games. There are men who play these games who say the same things about these games. It is not misogyny. If we get rid of what's being called disqualification, the divide will just be named differently. Instead of people saying, well, you're not really into games, they will say, you're not really into true games. It will mean exactly the same thing. The difference isn't just the name. The separation goes beyond language, and if you're excluded now, you will be excluded later, no matter what you call these things, because it is your taste excluding you. Speaking on girls allegedly being pushed out of gaming as they grow up, the author writes, games grow up with boys from that point forward. We are welcome as long as we don't drag anything that might exclude boys along. As long, essentially, as we are assimilative and quiet about it. And even then, that variety of game, Mario Kart, Angry Birds, Bejeweled, are roundly derided as barely being games at all. Anything without the requisite genuflection to the almighty god of boys' interests is not a real game, it turns out. I am sick and tired of boys calling Mario Kart a non-game just because it flies in the face of their interests with its racing cars and competition. But seriously, if you try to force shit that doesn't fit into a subculture, they are going to tell you to fuck off. That is the way it is in every subculture. Otherwise, it's not a subculture. I just find it bizarre. This article really blindsided me. This person is effectively advocating for the enforcement of gender roles, rather than gamer being genderless as it is now. It's just a case of, if you fit, you fit. The idea here though is that women game differently, and so you must have criteria for female gamers and for male gamers. You can try to say that, no, we're merely expanding what gamer means, but to use a term I keep hearing people say, this expansion is explicitly gendered. You have a female entrance to gamer and a male entrance to gamer, and that's in contrast with the approach I'd suggest, which is just to say, if you like it, go for it. If you don't, regardless of your gender, because in a way, calling this masculine is dissing the women who do like it and are in it. And that brings us on to the next reason women lose their love for games. This is the second force that teaches girls video games aren't for them. The social hierarchy of the gaming community, and the narrow, deforming spaces it offers to the women who do persevere. They have to become one of 2 types. There's the one gamer boys think is really hot, and they want her around, and they want to play games with her, but they're still going to make her uncomfortable and say really explicit shit. I see it happen. If she's cute, they tell her, oh, I want to fuck you, and if she says no, she's a bitch. She can't complain. And the other type? The other type, she says, is the weird gamer girl who sits alone in the cafeteria with her DS while the gamer dudes call her fat and ugly. Both girls get put down by guys. And anyway, gamer boys try to own gaming. They claim it is theirs as a boy thing. They automatically think girls are doing it for attention. No girl wins. I think she's actually right about this, but it's not the gaming social hierarchy. Remember, even though this is the writer's 17-year-old sister talking about how boys treat girls, this is a girl talking about their view of girls in gaming. Apparently, you cannot be female, enjoy the same things as a bunch of guys, and get on with them. You must be just some exploited weirdo or a dumb bimbo who takes shit from men. Just have a think about why someone would say this. They didn't think I was the greatest. They didn't want to play the games I wanted to play. You know, I don't want to be the friend anyway. Just look at those stupid bitches who hang out with those abusers. They only like her because she's pretty, and that other one's a weirdo who just takes anything. There is no possible way it could just be that some people fit, some people don't, and they're not all just spineless victims abused by men. This is the third force. Marketing. There aren't really any games that seem positive to me, my sister explains. They're all about violence and nudity. I don't like how the female body is made out. It makes me really uncomfortable. All of the commercials are for guys. The writer goes on to say, basically, if this is all these people know, why would they dig further? Maybe because they weren't dropped on their head as a baby. Just from the viewpoint of, you should obviously be able to see, wow, this is amazing, someone made this, but it doesn't appeal to me. None of this stuff on the top appeals to me. Through your recognition of this being awesome, you seriously wouldn't look to see what else other creators are making. That is a character flaw. That is not the world doing that to you. That is what you have allowed to be done to you, or what those in charge of your upbringing have allowed you to become. This is the kind of mentality that I'd expect from one of those, you know, One Direction maniac fans. She wants to play games where women make the world beautiful, save the day, make friends, or romance boys. She wants to play games without killing, without rape, that's fucking rare, isn't it? Without weaponry. She wants to play games that don't assume you grow up on GameFAQs or have hundreds of dollars to shell out on hardware upgrades. She wants games on her phone. She wants game in her browser. Just message me. She wants to live in a world where games are just as aligned with girlhood as boyhood, and where no one bats an eye at a girl like her loving video games alongside One Direction fanfiction and scented candles. This non-issue is already solved. Play the games that gamers tend to reject. Ta-da! You're not going to be blamed for mass shootings. You're not going to be called a neck-bearded perma-virgin. You won't have other women writing about you and talking about how you must just fall into one of two roles and be a fucking loser. With this video and the last one, I don't want people thinking I'm getting offended on other people's behalf. I'm just furious that something can be so shit. If you get rid of gamer as a label, you will get rid of the gamer stereotype, sure. More people will be called gamer, but then the previous people who would be labeled as being gamers will just have a new name. And the women who are considered, you know, true gamers now will be that. You get your nice little trophy, you get to say, I'm a gamer, all women are gamers, and you still don't have to associate with those weirdos, those girls who you can say, no, they're just liked because they're pretty, they just hang with the hardcore gamers who are all men because they're pushovers, but now they're the fringe. Look, I'm a gamer now, give me attention, notice me, games industry senpai. And all this wisdom from a 17-year-old kid. I am sure high school clique politics is just what the gaming industry needs. But, as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.